In this video, an in-depth exploration of Caribbean Citizenship by Investment, or CBI for short. If you're watching this, you're likely curious about how these programs work, what they offer, why they've become such a popular option for global mobility and asset protection. Today, we're diving deep into the facts, the latest available data as of 2025 to give you a comprehensive overview. We'll cover definitions, history, specific country programs, investment options, benefits, regulations, common myths, and more. So let's get started. First, what exactly is Caribbean Citizenship by Investment? CBI refers to government-operated programs in several Caribbean nations that grant citizenship to qualified foreign applicants in exchange for significant economic contributions. These programs are designed to boost the host country's economy through investments in areas like real estate, national development funds, or approved businesses. In return, applicants and their eligible family members receive full citizenship, including a passport, after passing rigorous due diligence checks. This isn't about getting a quote-unquote golden passport, though that's actually a common nickname. The core asset is the citizenship itself, which provides lifelong rights, while the passport is a renewable travel document that evidences it. These programs emerged in the Caribbean in the 1980s as a way for small island nations to attract foreign capital for development, especially after natural disasters or economic challenges. St. Kitts and Nevis pioneered the concept in 1984, followed by others like Dominica in 1993, Antigua and Barbuda in 2013, St. Lucia in 2016, and Grenada, which relaunched its program in 2013 after an earlier version. As of 2025, these 5 countries, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Lucia, remain the primary providers of CBI in the Caribbean. No new countries have joined recently, but existing programs have evolved with stricter regulations to address international scrutiny. A key driver for CBI is sustainable economic growth. For a lot of these countries, it makes up a huge percentage of their budget. CBI revenues can account for often 50% of the budget in some of these nations, though I think percentages have stabilized around 20-30% of the budget in these 5 Caribbean nations. So let's break down the programs. And by the way, how it's via donations. So you're basically donating, and that's paying for the government's budget. We'll get into it later about how there's different options. You can invest in real estate or you can do the donation. Donation's quite popular, and it's literally paying down the debt of these countries. So let's break down the programs by country, starting with investment options and thresholds. Note that all figures are in US dollars, and these are minimums. Actual costs include government fees plus due diligence and agent fees, which can add 10 to 20% more. Requirements are for a single applicant. Adding family members increase costs, and that varies by country, where some of the Caribbean countries charge more per family member or dependent than others. Eligibility requires applicants to be over 18, of good character, with no criminal record, and passing health checks. Due diligence involves enhanced background checks by third-party firms like Thomson Reuters, or Refinitiv is another one you could look into, covering source of funds, criminal history, and sanctions list. In 2023, the 5 countries signed a Memorandum of Agreement, an MOA, to standardize minimum investments at $200,000 for donations. They also standardized to share information and to enhance transparency. This was in response to EU and US pressure over concerns like money laundering and over CBI programs in general. The Joint Regional Communication Center, the JRCC, established in 2024, oversees regional coordination, including training and audits. As of 2025, all programs mandate interviews for applicants over 16, and there are some banned nationalities, so applicants from Russia, Belarus, Iran, and North Korea are currently unable to apply due to geopolitical risks, but these lists do change from time to time, so be sure to check in with us if you have any questions. For real estate options, after the holding period of 3 to 7 years, depending on the country, you can sell the property, potentially recouping most or even all of your investment if values appreciate. Caribbean real estate has seen 5 to 10% annual growth in the tourist areas, driven by remote work trends and retirement trends. However, risks include market fluctuations and maintenance costs. Donations are non-refundable and often the quickest route, though there is the investment option, and investment recovery becomes a discussion. Now for the benefits. Foremost is global mobility. Caribbean passports rank highly. St. Kitts is probably the best in the Caribbean, Antigua being the second best. You get visa-free travel to the EU Schengen area, access to the UK, potentially access to Canada, and large parts of Asia and Africa. So this will complement your visa-free travel if you're a Canadian, American, European. Looking at the Caribbean, this will fill in a couple spots in your visa-free portfolio. But you can see how for a lot of people, people from countries with less powerful passports, this could actually be hugely helpful. Even a lot of Latin American countries don't have visa-free UK, don't have visa-free Schengen, such as, say, Ecuador or the Dominican Republic. And people from even those countries could invest in these passports and gain a little bit more visa-free travel. The tax advantages are also significant. None of these countries tax worldwide income for non-residents. So you're only going to be taxed if you are a tax resident of these Caribbean countries, which you can do strategically. Some people might want to become a tax resident in the Caribbean, or others might want to avoid it or have no use for it. So Antigua, Dominica, and St. Kitts have no personal income tax at all. Grenada and St. Lucia tax local source income only. There's no capital gains tax, no inheritance tax, and no wealth taxes in most of these countries. This enables tax planning, but remember, your original country's rules apply as well if you're a US citizen or if you're ensnared in another country's tax system. We need to look at things holistically. Citizenship does not trigger tax residency unless you move there and establish some substantial ties to the country. So just keep that in mind. Some people think if you buy the passport, you can instantly be a tax resident in St. Kitts and pay 0% tax on everything. And it's not quite that straightforward. There's additional steps that you would have to pursue in order to be considered a tax resident in St. Kitts, and also to give up your previous country's tax residency and leave that country's system. Moving on to the lifestyle perks, you would get the right to live, work, and study in the country without restrictions. CARICOM membership allows free movement across 15 Caribbean nations for work or residence. We have another video on this channel explaining the CARICOM and what it is, but basically it's kind of like a mini EU or a mini, free trade, free movement bloc in the Caribbean. And so being part of, being a citizen of one of these 5 Caribbean nations, they're all part of CARICOM. And so basically you get free movement within the whole Caribbean, which is pretty interesting. Education-wise, you can get access to British curriculum schools and universities. There's St. George's in Grenada. There's different schools around the Caribbean that you'll gain access to for yourself, for your kids, and future generations. You might have access to healthcare in the Caribbean as well. You have incredible natural beauty. You have a good synthesis in terms of really good weather in the winter from, say, October to April, kind of over the Christmas break and everything, which works out perfectly for Canadians, for Europeans that would like to go somewhere warm in the winter. And again, the more time you spend there, the easier it is to become a tax resident and to take advantage of those benefits as well, because a lot of these countries have very strong financial systems. St. Kitts comes to mind. You have the Nevis trusts there, which is something that you can take advantage of, and different structures all around the Caribbean. Asset protection is extremely robust. You can set up trusts, LLCs, or offshore banks in these jurisdictions, known for very strong privacy laws. No exchange controls in most either, facilitating international banking. Economically, CBI fosters jobs. You're creating jobs in the local economy simply through your CBI investment. But then a lot of these countries are very business friendly as well, and you can easily start a business and invest even more in the countries. Debunking a couple myths around Caribbean CBIs. One, you cannot apply alone. This is a myth that you can apply alone. In fact, you must use a licensed agent who handles submissions, escrow, and compliance. Agents are regulated, ensuring professionalism. And if you're looking for a trusted agent, MyLatinLife, we work closely with the top agents in the Caribbean. There's a link in the description to book a call with us and get the process started. So if you're looking to take action, you want to look at your holistic plan in terms of passports, taxes, residencies, asset protection, link in the description to book a call with us, and we can get you directly introduced to the top Caribbean agents and handle anything you need for second citizenship. Moving on, the second myth I wanted to debunk here is that no residency is required. So citizenship is granted remotely, no need to visit the countries for pre-approval, except for Antigua. Antigua now requires 7 days in the country. So that's kind of the standout in the Caribbean. Other countries are talking about potentially introducing a 30-day residency requirement or a mandatory visit. This is essentially in response to EU and US pressures. But other than Antigua, nothing is official yet, to my understanding. But this has led to Antigua's recent loss in popularity, because obviously a lot of people don't want to have to, fly all the way from Dubai or whatever to Antigua and spend that week there and the cost associated with that. So keep that in mind. Most of the countries you don't have to visit, but this is actually changing a little bit as well. So that's maybe why there's some myths coming out around the physical presence aspect. Third myth I wanted to debunk is this is not just for the ultra wealthy. 200,000, 250,000, you can cover your whole family, families of 4, families of 6, families of 10. The more, the merrier. And 250,000, yes, it's a decent amount of money, but at what point does it start to make sense? If you have a net worth of 25 million, what is 250,000? It's 1% of your net worth. If you have a net worth of 2.5 million, this is 10% of your net worth, which might seem high, but people need a backup plan. You can't have just one passport and be completely jurisdictionally dependent on your home country. You need to have multiple citizenships, internationalize. This is becoming increasingly obvious. So maybe 10% of your net worth is pretty high, but there must be some percentage of your net worth at which it starts making sense. And maybe you could say your liquid net worth too, but if you have $5-10 million net worth, which isn't a lot these days, you basically need $3 million to retire in the US. So this is kind of becoming, more of a middle class fancy, upper middle class necessity, which is kind of interesting over time. And especially how other countries around the world are even cheaper than the Caribbean. And there are some CBI programs, around the 100, 150K mark. So not just for the ultra wealthy, many applicants are mid-level entrepreneurs seeking diversification and an insurance plan B. Myth number 4 is that, the programs are lax. In fact, they're highly regulated with OECD compliant transparency, annual audits, and quite high denial rates for due diligence failures. They say that there are other programs around the world that are a little bit less diligence heavy, you could say. But the Caribbean has greatly increased their due diligence, especially in the past couple years. And so these are extremely rigorous programs in terms of compliance. Some recent challenges in 2024-25, the EU has been pushing for more scrutiny, leading, of course, to the Memorandum of Understanding and that 200K donation floor. They've phased out the discounts. The US has flagged concerns over Russian applicants and applicants from different nationalities. Success rates remain high for clean applicants, over 90%. There are some costs beyond investment that you want to keep in mind for due diligence and for government fees and agency fees. So the donation is not the entire fee, and depending on your family size, the fees look a little bit different, which is why you really want to get a quote directly from an agent to know exactly how much you're all in for. And again, if you're looking for an agent that can give you a quote for your family, maybe give you quotes for a couple different countries so that you can compare the exact prices on St. Kitts versus Grenada versus St. Lucia, etc., we can do that for you. There's a link in the description to book a call with us, and you can be speaking with us right away. In conclusion, Caribbean CBI is a strategic tool for mobility, security, and opportunity. It's mutually beneficial. Investors are gaining a second citizenship, which is increasingly necessary in the modern world, while nations build their economic resilience. If you're considering it, consult licensed professionals and verify your sources because these programs evolve all the time. Even information that's 6 months old could be outdated, so always stay vigilant, book a call, and if this video helped, please like and subscribe to the channel for more global citizenship options. We'll see you in the next video.